How far will a mother's love go? Unconditionally doing anything to spare harm, hurt for their kids. Now, I'm Denise Brady. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. And over here, we talk about mother daughter relationships, power and control, manipulation. How far will a mother really go to protect her grandkids? Okay. To make sure her children get the best. Okay. Now I need y'all to tap in, hit that subscribe button, turn on your post notifications, turn on the notifications, join the membership. It's only $1. I want to do a little bit of a deep dive on mother daughter relationships, parental dynamics. How far will a parent go to protect their children? You might be watching this as a parent. I want to know from you guys, how far would you go? Now, a little bit of background on the Donna Adelson case. She is a grandmother who, along with her children, her daughter, and one of her sons, plotted to put a hit out on her daughter's estranged husband. Okay. Now, this case has been very sensationalized because a grandmother putting a hit out. I thought that's something we only saw on The Sopranos. Oh no, baby girl. This is real life. Okay. So, this grandmother was recently found guilty of putting a hit out alongside of her son in this picture because her daughter, the man in the middle, the victim in this case, was going through a divorce, a custody battle with her daughter. And so the daughter wanted to have custody of the children and she wanted to move to Florida to be closer to her family. And her estranged husband, the victim in the middle, was like, no, I'm not having that. You're not moving, not with my kids. So, is it allegedly since they've been found guilty? The mother, along with her son, who was also on trial and was found guilty, hashed out a plan with a couple of people to put a hit out on the daughter's estranged ex-husband, all over custody. Okay. Now, there's been testimony, there's been court cases. Over the weekend, I watched the brother's testimony. If you want to watch his testimony, it's actually on A&E's Taking the Stand. I believe I was watching season 4. You can watch him take the stand, and his whole criminal case is actually documented over there on A&E. Best crime network right there, baby. Okay. But how far will a mother go? How far are you willing to make sure your child is happy? Now, thus far in this case, the grandmother Donna, the son, who I can't remember what his name is. If you're looking at the photo and watching this, the gentleman on the right side of your screen was also found guilty. First, it was the son who was found guilty, then the mama, Donna. And now some people might be wondering, when is Wendi going to be charged? I believe her name is Wendi. Okay. When is she going to be charged? Because ain't no way, you know, your brother Charlie and your mama Donna was able to do this without you knowing. Okay. Because on the fateful day that unfortunately the victim lost his life, he was followed, I believe, after he dropped off the children, he was followed back home to his home where he was unfortunately killed in his driveway. And on that day, only a few people could have known his routes, what time he would drop off the kids, where they were being dropped off at. It had to be who gave out that information? Who knew that? Could allegedly have been Wendi. Now, Wendi is the only one in this case who has not been tried. But I feel like, this case, I believe, started in 2014 when the victim first passed away. There was only a matter of time before the FBI is putting things together because Mama was out for a long time. Mama Donna was out living her best life. And then eventually the FBI was like, we're gonna put something out there to give her some bait to come out. Do a little bit of a bump. Okay, and that's what they did. They put a little bit of a bump out there, and Recordings and everything happened, and she was recently found guilty. But as a therapist, I want to dig more into mother-daughter relationships, mother relationships, okay? And how I feel like family systems really play a role in how different dynamics come to surface. How when a family is so close, I personally think it's almost impossible for an outsider to come in um, and be able to kind of, infiltrate the family system. Okay. Have you been somebody who's tried to come into a family that was so close and you weren't able to? And was it that Donna had power, manipulation? Was it that in the end it was a family trying to protect one of their own? Let's get into it right now, okay? Because some of you guys can relate to this story of having in laws, okay? Having in laws that you cannot overcome the distraction, their influence, but let's talk about parental relationships and control. Is there a line between nurturing and manipulation? Some parents put down this line of, I'm the end all be all. Okay, I'm your mother, but in the end of the day, nobody can surpass me. I'm the most important person in your life. I don't care who you marry, who come into this house. I'm the top queen bee, the matriarch of the family. And looking at this, I also feel like there are signs and themes of um enmeshment. Okay. Enmeshment is when people are so close that it's impossible for individuals to have their own lives, be able to have separation because the family is so close. And I think that's what we're seeing here is an enmeshed family who had all these dynamics going on that made it impossible for somebody like the victim to come into place and have their own separate life. Okay. Now ask yourself as you're watching this, do you come from an enmeshed family? Have you been able to have your own life? Is it possible for you to have your own life? Because when you look at this scenario of a man trying to, I think, have custody of his kids and then battle divorce, and then you add an enmeshed family with money, they can get away with anything. Now I'm going to lower my screen so we can look at this diagram. Okay. But when you look at, this diagram of everybody involved in this case, Dan, unfortunately, is Wendy's ex-husband who was not here anymore. Then you have Harvey, who has also not been charged, the father in this. Donna was charged with murder. Charles was the first one. And then you have the co-conspirators over here. All right. But looking at enmeshed families, they're like this. Okay. It is impossible for somebody from the outside to come in and break this. No matter what, we're family. Okay. It's about us. And I think it shows you just how dangerous enmeshment in families can be. Okay. Now, is this your grandmother? Is this your mother-in-law? Is this the person sometimes cutting the turkey on Thanksgiving, opening presents with the children? It looks like a little old grandmother, right? Now somebody who has power and manipulation over her kids, over the decisions of the kids. Okay. You also see loyalty here. And I think a play on conditional love, because we saw in Donna's case, her murder trial, Wendi, her daughter, actually testified against her. Mhm. And I wonder if we're in a place now where Wendi is trying to hope for the best that she ain't next. And will we see that conditional love come into play and when Donna decide to snitch on her daughter? But parental control and relationships, when you try and bring an outsider into an enmeshed family, that relationship between that new partner and the significant other oftentimes is not able to flourish because you have the family over here who's like, who is this outsider? You're never going to be good enough for my daughter, my son, whoever. And then you have loyalty. So now this partner is trying to decide, who am I loyal to? My family or my partner? Okay. And how far would a parent go? What are some of the healthier boundaries between a parent and an adult child? In this situation, I feel like there were 90 boundaries. It's either you about this family or you not. Because you see, if you guys are not unaware, there was a third, let me make my picture a little bit smaller. There is a third child who was like, oh no, okay, no, I'm not gonna be involved in this. I forgot his name though. There's a third child in this photo. If you're watching the video on the top screen, um, who's like, oh no, I can't do this. I'm not about this. So he actually testified against his own mother. Okay. And some of y'all, we hear the same, but that's your mom. That's your mother. Okay. But once again, how far do those parental dynamics, love, conditional love go? Ain't no way I could just be like, oh, my mama put a hit out on my ex and still let my children see that person. Like, let me know from y'all. How far does that go? Where do you put the boundary of, no, that's not right? Grandmama, you can't see them kids no more. You can't. You done took their daddy away. You took their daddy away. Okay. Because this looks like the lady that be at Home Depot picking up flowers, probably baking cookies for the PTA, PTO at the soccer games. When on the down low, they was at home writing checks, sending monthly payments to the co-conspirators, other people who have already been found guilty. Because the first set of people who were found guilty were the co-conspirators who were also involved in this case. And then they went for the family. Okay, they got enough evidence against the family. They waited. Let the family live their life. Thinking they got away with it. But you know, the FBI, they move slow. They not gonna fuck around and mess up a case. And then they went and got them. But I want to know from you guys, people watching this, does parental overreach turn toxic? How does it turn toxic? I think in this situation, it turns toxic when the matriarch feels like there is somebody out there trying to harm her kids. Someone trying to make my kids feel unhappy. And that person, unfortunately, was the ex-husband. In no way should it get to a point where your mother, power and privilege, having money, makes her believe that I can take care of it. It's okay, Wendi, we got this. We're a family. Family sticks together. And you know what? We're going to handle this. But Wendi is saying she didn't know nothing. She didn't know her mom was gonna do this. She didn't know her brother was in cahoots. She don't know nothing about them checks. I don't know nothing. I was just with my kids on vacation and they was doing all that. But I think at this point, it's looking at the different testimonies from the ex-girlfriend that the son was dating, who also helped put this whole thing together. The son, it's impossible for me to really think that when he didn't know, Harvey, the father, didn't know. Okay, this woman is sick. Was very sick. A grandmother indicted on charges of first-degree murder, conspiracy, and solicitation. Who is calling me? And in Charlie's, court case, he was actually, it only took them 3 hours. Y'all need to watch that episode of Taking the Stand. 3 hours. And the looks on his face during the different testimonies, his own testimony, his ex-girlfriend testifying against him. It was just like, damn, Gina, you telling them everything? You telling them everything. You could just tell a look on his face at times was, damn, I'm fucked. I'm fucked. Okay, yeah, this is the face he had most of the time. Yeah, because you and your family chose to take somebody else's life as a family. And I think they believe power and privilege would save them, that they wouldn't get caught, especially because they were able to live their lives for so long. I think it was maybe in 2022 when Donna was actually arrested, and the actual incident happened in 2014. So they had so long to still be out living their life, thinking that nothing was going to happen. But they had so much evidence. And I really feel like it's only a matter of time before Wendi is arrested. Wendi is even, she even testified to saying she told investigators the day of the murder that her brother joked it would be cheaper to buy her a TV as a divorce gift than hire a hitman. Okay. There's so much evidence that the FBI had on this entire family that it's like, wow, if it wasn't the husband that was treating Wendi, poorly, if somebody else had came into this enmeshed family and they felt jeopardized or felt like that person was not treating one of the partners, the kids, the 3 kids well, I wonder if they would have done the same thing to somebody else. Even after Charlie was found guilty, Donna called him in jail several times and told him she was getting things in order, creating trust, making sure her grandchildren are taken care of. She also discussed plans for a suicide plan to flee to a country that doesn't extradite, which is how she got caught. Okay, she had booked a one-way flight to Vietnam. And then it's not like they told a friend that they were about to leave the country, and the friend was like, "Oh, FBI." Yeah, my friend Donna and Dr. Harvey, they on Southwest right now. Y'all want to roll up? Because if it wasn't for them telling somebody that they were leaving the country, they probably would have left and been able to get away with this. But it goes to the dynamics of parenting, plus power and privilege. I think a lot of kids are victims of their parents' power, having power with over them, the enmeshment of a family, and this being, we're family. We take care of one another. We do everything we can for one another, life or death. And there are a lot of people out here who are trying to escape enmeshed families who are not able to because of the power and manipulation. Okay. Do you guys think, some of you guys who have been following the case, is it only a matter of time before Donna is next? Sorry, not Donna, Wendi. Is it only a matter of time before Wendi is next? And do you think that we'll see some conditional love of, hey, your mama, and I'm in jail as your mama, your brother in jail. Wendi, I need some time off my books. I can't be doing life. Sorry, sis, but they made me a deal. Do you guys think some of that unconditional or conditional love will come into play? Because in these cases, it gets to a point where everyone is out for self. How can I preserve myself? How can I make it so that my time is lessened? Now let's also talk about triangulation. Okay, because we often see that in family dynamics where there's this triangle. At the top of this triangle is the mother, and how she positions herself in both of her children's relationships and marriages. Now, when it came to custody of both these relationships, Charles's ex relationship with his wife, Wendy's, both her kids were going into custody battles. Okay. And Donna was like, I can fix it. All right. Triangulation is when two people in a conflict bring in the dynamic to relieve tension or gain control. For example, a mother involving a child in maternal disputes are pressuring him to take sides. With triangulation with Donna, she allegedly positioned herself between her son Charles and ex-wife. Okay. Instead of letting Charlie and ex solve battles directly, Donna became a central manipulative figure. She framed this situation as family versus an outsider, like I said at the beginning, which is a classic battle of triangulation. And there's also the psychology of maternal manipulation. We see that in different things where a woman trying to date a mother's son will never be good enough for my son. And Donna felt like she was protecting her son, but in reality, she was tightening her control. Similar to Wendi, she felt like by controlling this parental divorce and custody battle, she was protecting. Okay, protecting. Protecting is this overarching belief when really control and manipulation were the true arc. All right. These loyalties that we see have binded this family together. Loyalty with my mom versus having my own independence. And I think even though, Charlie was a successful dentist, had his practice, ultimately, I believe Dr. Harvey, his father, and Donna were really in control of things. His independence was a facade. Because at the end of the day, his mama had control over everything. And I think her influence escalated from emotional manipulation to interference to criminal entanglement. And that is how they all became criminals involved in a murder trial. Okay? Triangulation really prevents direct resolution and it fuels resentment. I wonder now, one son has gone to jail, prison, mama in prison, Dr. Harvey's still out there. I wonder too if the FBI is after Dr. Harvey because ain't no way his wife did all this and he ain't know. Okay, I'm just gonna keep it a buck. Ain't no way he didn't know. Okay. So I'm wondering now, are they going some of them gonna turn on each other? Just like we see in co-defendants in trials who I want less time. I want to go see my kids. I don't want to be in prison the rest of my life. So if the FBI just slide Donna a deal, maybe slide Dr. Harvey a deal to bring in Wendi, are we gonna see that? Are we gonna see those type of dynamics where conditional love comes into play? These custody battles between Wendi and her husband and the other brother, I believe his name is Charlie, okay? It escalated things. The pressure of making sure her kids were always happy and having people from the outside come into an enmeshed family. You can't break up an enmeshed family, okay? Especially when they're what do we talk about? Boundaries, okay? Where there are no boundaries. And I think this family did not have boundaries. And it's a display of enmeshment, triangulation, poor boundaries, power and control. This is what you get. And I want to know, do you guys think of boundaries were in place? Would they have made a difference? Would it have really made a difference? It became about secrecy in this family, us versus them. True foundational key points of an enmeshed family, us versus them. And how many of you guys have been involved with partners who come from families of a thus, I like that, us versus them, and how sometimes it becomes dangerous with decision making. In this case, what began as a family pressure around custody spiraled into life altering consequences. Okay. In therapy, we encourage and try and break triangulation and set boundaries. Now, with this family dynamic was ultimately, it's sad to say, someone from the outside trying to come in, ultimately going to get hurt. If it had not been Wendy's ex-husband, would it have been somebody else? Maybe there are little things that people now look back on about this family and the way that their kids grew up and little things that happened that maybe they might be thinking now, did that kid really hurt himself? Did Donna have someone hurt that kid so that her kid can get the medal? How far does a mother's love really go? Okay, how far does it really go? And can you repair family dynamics and relationships? Or is it, just because everybody's in prison now, is there any repairing? Is it worth it? And I think about the kids who are left behind, like, damn, grandma killed my daddy. Because her kids now have to be probably at least teenagers. Okay. They gotta at least be teenagers. And is it only a matter of time before they come and get Wendi? Is she next? Okay. But I want to know your thoughts on this whole family dynamic, the perfect family. Was it ever really the perfect family, y'all? Was it ever the perfect family? And does the perfect family really exist? Okay. But these are just my thoughts as a therapist as we end on this family portrait that was once maybe the American dream. I want to know your thoughts. Let me know in the comments. Make sure you hit that notification bell. Join the membership. It's only $1. Okay. Like the video if you got to the end. You know what we say? We say put some purple hearts in the chat, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye. See you next time.